I need you to listen to me very carefully. If you ever see a Scarecrow costume at a thrift store, especially one that looks old, hand-stitched, with straw that seems too real, leave it there. Don't touch it. Don't even look at it too long. Because 3 weeks ago, I made the mistake of bringing one home, and I haven't been myself since. So here's the thing about me. I'm a broke agriculture major in my junior year, always procrastinating on everything from assignments to social plans. Halloween was 2 days away, and I still didn't have a costume for my friend Derek's party. Everyone was going, and I'd already committed. I wasn't about to be that guy who shows up without making an effort, especially since Derek's always ribbing me about my farm boy quirks, like how I can spot crop blight from a mile away. That's how I ended up at Salvation Thrift on the bad side of town. You know the kind of place I'm talking about. Flickering fluorescent lights, that weird smell that's somehow both musty and chemical, and racks upon racks of other people's abandoned belongings. I was digging through the costume section, which was pretty picked over. Most of it was cheap plastic stuff or stained fairy wings. But then, pushed way in the back, I found it. It was a Scarecrow costume. And I'm not talking about some factory-made orange jumpsuit with a printed-on face. This thing was authentic, real burlap fabric, rough against my hands. Actual straw poking out from the sleeves and collar. The mask was handmade, with stitched-on features and button eyes that caught the light in a way that made them almost look wet. As I held it, I swear I heard a faint rustle, like dry leaves whispering in the wind, but I chalked it up to the store's drafty vents. The price tag said $8. I should have wondered why something so detailed was so cheap. I should have noticed how the employee at the counter looked at me when I brought it up to pay. This older woman, maybe in her 60s, and she just stared at the costume for a long moment before scanning it. Under her breath, she muttered something like, "The watch. It never ends." But I thought she was just talking to herself. "You sure about this one?" she asked louder. I laughed. "For $8? Absolutely." She didn't smile back, just bagged it up and handed it to me with both hands, like it weighed more than it should. Halloween night, I put it on for Derek's party. The moment I pulled that burlap shirt over my head, I felt different. The fabric was rough, yeah, but there was something else, a warmth to it. Like it had been recently worn, even though it had been sitting in my closet for 2 days. And that whispering rustle, it was back, faint but insistent, like voices too quiet to make out. The party was fine, great actually. People loved the costume. Said it was the most realistic one there, perfect for an ag major like me. I remember having a few drinks, dancing, the usual. I got home around 2 a.m., exhausted. I remember taking off the mask and collapsing into bed. But I woke up at dawn. Outside, I was standing in the middle of my apartment complex's courtyard, still wearing the Scarecrow costume. My feet were bare and covered in mud. Grass clippings stuck to my ankles. And here's the part that made my blood run cold. I wasn't tired. I felt wide awake, energized even, like I'd gotten a full night's sleep. But I had no memory of leaving my apartment. No memory of anything after my head hit the pillow. I ran back inside, my heart hammering. Told myself I must have been way drunker than I thought. Sleepwalking, maybe. It happens, right? I threw the costume in my laundry hamper and tried to forget about it. 3 nights later, it happened again. I woke up in the parking lot of a grocery store 6 blocks from my apartment, 3:47 a.m., according to my phone. And I was wearing the costume. I don't even remember taking it out of the hamper. I don't remember putting it on. But there I was, dressed head to toe in burlap and straw, standing under a flickering streetlight like some kind of horror movie villain. My hands were dirty, soil under my fingernails, and there was this smell on the costume, like earth, like I'd been digging. When I got home, I tried to throw the costume away. I shoved it in a garbage bag, tied it up, and put it in the dumpster outside. Good riddance. The next night, I found it hanging in my closet again. I'm not joking. The same costume, cleaned and pressed like it had just come back from the dry cleaner. I tore my apartment apart looking for an explanation. Maybe Derek was playing a prank on me, but no one had a key to my place. The door was locked from the inside. That's when I started getting scared, really scared. And the whispering? It was louder now, murmuring words I almost understood. Something about fields and watching. I decided not to sleep. I'd stay up all night, make sure I didn't black out again. I made coffee, put on loud music, played video games, anything to keep myself conscious. Around 2 a.m., I felt this pull, like a rope tied around my chest, tugging me toward my bedroom, toward the closet where the costume hung. I fought it. I swear, I fought it with everything I had. But my legs started moving on their own. Step by step, I walked to the closet. My hand reached out. I grabbed the costume. And then, everything went black. When I came to, I was in a field, an actual field, miles from anywhere I recognized. The sun was starting to rise, painting the sky orange and pink. I was standing in the middle of rows of corn, and there was a Scarecrow post in front of me, empty, like something had been taken down from it. The costume was on me, of course, but now I noticed something I hadn't before. On the inside of the burlap shirt, stitched in faded thread, were words. His watch continues. My phone buzzed. 7 missed calls from Derek, a dozen texts asking where I was, if I was okay. The timestamp said I'd been gone for 6 hours, but here's what really made me lose it. I had a memory that wasn't mine. I could remember standing on that Scarecrow post, watching over the field. I could remember the feeling of birds landing on my outstretched arms. The wind blowing through the straw that wasn't just part of a costume, but part of me. I remember decades, maybe longer, seasons passing, watching, always watching. And as an ag major, these memories hit harder. They twisted my knowledge of soil cycles and pest patterns into something eternal and malevolent. These weren't my memories, but they were in my head, as real as anything I'd actually experienced. I drove home doing 90 on the highway, still wearing that cursed thing because I was too afraid to take it off while driving. The moment I got to my apartment, I grabbed scissors and started cutting. I shredded that costume into pieces. The fabric fought me. I swear it did. The material was tougher than it should have been, and more than once, the scissors slipped like the costume was trying to protect itself. As I cut, threads seemed to weave back together briefly, like the burlap was regenerating, pulling itself whole with invisible hands. I had to stab and tear, screaming the whole time until finally it lay in tatters. But I kept going. I cut it into confetti-sized pieces, stuffed them all in a metal trash can, doused it in lighter fluid, and set it on fire in the alley behind my building. I watched that costume burn until there was nothing left but ashes. Then I scooped up the ashes and flushed them down the toilet. That was 4 days ago. I haven't had any blackouts since, haven't woken up anywhere strange, but I still have those memories. They haven't faded. They're growing stronger. I know things I shouldn't know. About farming, about crops, about the patterns that crows fly in. Sometimes I catch myself standing perfectly still for minutes at a time, just watching. And last night, I dreamed of that field again, but this time, I was the one on the post, and the costume was wearing me from the inside out. And yesterday, I walked past another thrift store. Different one across town. In the window, I saw a Scarecrow costume. Not the same one, but similar. The style, the materials, the hand-stitched details. There was a guy looking at it. College kid, probably needed a last-minute costume for something. I should have gone in there, should have warned him. But I didn't. I just kept walking. Because part of me, the part that remembers standing in that field, that part knows. The watch continues, it always continues, and it needs someone to keep it. If you've made it this far, do me a favor. If you ever see a Scarecrow costume at a thrift store and something about it feels wrong, trust that feeling. Leave it there. Some things are left behind for a reason. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new horror story. Drop a comment below telling me about the creepiest thing you've ever found at a thrift store. Until next time, stay safe out there. And remember, not every costume is meant to be worn. Some of them are looking to wear you.